So hello and welcome to the outside broadcast world of Full Speed Events. My name's Matt Payne. This over here is Emma Martin. It's very cosy in this outside broadcast space. In fact, if I just do this, high-tech camera positioning here. By the movement of the camera, look at that super smooth panning. Welcome to the WOW DCG. Now, as you might know, Emma and myself, we are out on part of the new Full Speed Events top secret project, aka a new secondary base in France. Bonjour. And guess what? We still don't actually have a proper studio to broadcast from. I say a proper studio, I mean like one with like walls and things. So we are back in the outside broadcast unit using the 4G. Now I'm going to give you a quick heads up. If you're watching this live and the screen breaks up, if in doubt, press refresh on your browser on YouTube or refresh on your Facebook page if you're watching it there, because then you'll go back to live timing. If otherwise, when there's a pause, you'll just start where you left off, and that might cause you a little bit of a problem because you'll be out of sync. By the end, you might be 5-10 minutes out of sync. Now, in theory, this is just as fast and smooth as ever, and it has been used successfully for international broadcast repeatedly. What I'm loving is that it can't cope with us moving about on our autofocus. So we're going to try and keep super still. We're on WOW DCG. Emma, welcome to Outside Broadcast. It's all right, isn't it? It's got its own coffee machine.
It's quite cosy in here, actually. The only problem is I have to sit quite close to you.
I know. I wouldn't want to sit close to me. I've been out constructing things today, studios mostly. So we are going to be bringing you all of the coverage today. We're not just going to be talking heads. We are going to be bringing you the screen. And you can just see just about over there. Got to do that. I can do that on my own. With two of us, it's a bit less. Over there, that's my hand. You can see our riders are lining up. We're about 3 minutes to go. So let's show you where we are heading. So we are going to be heading. That wasn't a pause in your breakup, by the way. You don't need to press refresh. That was just a pause in the commentary. We are going to head into Tempest Fugit. Emma, take us through the route.
Yeah, we are indeed heading to Tempest Fugit tonight. So flat tonight. So we've got a 2.4k lead in and then 2 laps of 17.3 kilometres, giving us a finish at, it says... at 37k, which is quite correct. So the only thing to really watch out for here, and which has caught us out when we've used Tempest Fugit before, is at the finish, you go through the rock arch and then you go round the loop and you come back into the rock arch to finish. So we have had, when we've used this before, I think Lily Swan was indeed, and Joe Tinley were on that night, and they sprinted for the rock arch, and we went through the rock arch and round the bit at the back, and then we sprinted on the way back in. So you need to think about timing your finish tonight, and that won't catch you out.
And the other thing, of course, is drafting is key here.
Oh.
This is all about being able to stay in the wheels. It is worth turning yourselves inside out, black and blue, making yourself see stars and everything else on the way through. It is really critical to jump in there now. Make sure you get on there. We're going to go across from our fantastic Zwift Hacks map to the most pointless profile we ever show anybody on the Donny Chaingang. It is, of course, the Velo Viewer profile. It's flat, with more flat, and then yet more flat.
Oh, hold on. There is tiny undulations.
They're only there so you can get out of the saddle and stop you getting a numb bum. I know that from experience, having spent 6 hours once riding on this course. It was exceptionally dull and boring, but I was supporting somebody who was doing a charity ride, so there was a good reason for it at least. Now, taking us through is going to be our yellow beacon. It's Lisa Jane Lee, a.k.a. Foxy, and great to have Lisa leading for the first time. I'm sure she's going to be absolutely flying away round. And on the red beacon, it is the one and only Aeonian Race Team's Joe Jarvis, a 312 veteran. Let's dive across to the line, and we can see our riders are just getting themselves all fired up and ready to go. You can see that red chevron over the red beacon, and getting out from here is absolutely key, isn't it? To make sure that you get out nice and smoothly out from the gate and to get everybody together nice and quickly.
Yeah, it is indeed, and just making sure that taking it nice and steady at that start, and I'm sure Lisa is going to do that really nicely and making sure the group roll out, and they roll out in one group, because that's going to be absolutely important tonight. As you talked about, Matt, maintaining that group and staying in that pack. Even at a low watts per kilo, this pack is going to move fast on this course tonight.
So here we go. We're in with our red beacon, and as you can see, the messages are already coming up onto the screen as our riders roll out here. And don't forget, of course, if you are watching thinking, oh, I missed the start, don't worry, we have a late start on here. Now, what we should say, of course, is this is all part of Gritty Week on the Donny Chaingang, and it is absolutely critical that you are supporting the people who support your sport. Gritty have been great supporters of the Donny Chaingang over the years, and some very nice kit.
Yeah, there is indeed. I have a very nice Gritty jersey, which I like to wear in the summer.
Indeed, I have seen that out and about, and some very, very great credentials as well in terms of environmental credentials, because of course it always minimum impact. Even things like the tyre checkers for cyclocross, etc. Well, that is really key, isn't it? Because that is recycled monofilament. It is actually recycled plastic bottles actually that makes those tyre checkers.
Is it?
Yep, it would have been out last year, but they couldn't find anything where that was good enough in terms of green.
Now you see, because you don't want to get caught out by the commissaire team as you are lining up, particularly at a national cross race.
Or at the World's Masters, which is in fact where we're going to be this time next week. We will be making our way down. We were actually. We'll be about to make our way down because
the van
we
will
are
be
going to
packed.
the van should be packed, and we will be in the UK bringing you the WOW DCG, and then we're going to hot foot it down to Ipswich post WOW DCG next week. It's a busy week. We're going to be broadcasting Tuesday, Wednesday. Then we're going to be bezzing our way straight the way down to Ipswich. It's only about a 4-hour drive. Really looking forward to that compared to the 14 to get here. And then, of course, heading out and round. Now, looks like everybody just about on. Let's get our camera up in the air.
Look at that. Absolutely lovely bunch. Perfect start. And a great course for making sure everyone's clear of the start line.
It is indeed. And we can just see that the gang coming out nice and smoothly. Everybody holding well together. And should we have a little run through some riders, Emma? Why not? Why not indeed, man? Why not? Right, let's have a little look. See who we've got. I'm not going to try and jump to the end. Now, let's see which one's which. So, T. Fletcher. This is the addict. The one and only. Here on Tuesday, here today, and no doubt be here on the Donny Chaingang tomorrow as well. It is the one and only Tiff Fletcher. Here's Tiff, who is an absolutely amazing rider and on some serious form at the moment, coming back into some really quick speed and some quick legs. Great to see her in action. So Tiff in here. Let's have a hunt through. Should we do the random press a button and hope? There we go. We'll press the random button and hope. Let's see what we end up with. Right, let's have a look.
Oh, Alison Kinlock. Now, someone who I will be keeping my eye on because she goes up a category at the World Masters this year.
At World Masters Cyclocross.
At the World Masters Cyclocross, and I think she's going really well at the moment. So I shall be cheering from the sidelines very loudly.
Indeed, indeed. Now, let's take a little bit of a hunt. Let's press another button. We got Blackburn. I always love it when it comes up just with surnames. It's Joe, of course. So Joe Blackburn in here, nicely pushing in as I think Julie Bratton just having a little bit of an issue here. Evening, Julie. So Julie on a very nice Pinarello dogma there, just off the back of the pack. Looks like Joe Jarvis coming back to go give a bit of a tow. Holly, where's the pub? We haven't opened a bottle of wine yet today.
No, we didn't
Yet.
open it until after we finished commentating and de-essing last night.
That is true. And you were de-essing for the Ionian squad. How did you get on? No, I didn't actually ask that bit.
Well, in fact, Joe, our Red Beacon, was actually in the team that I was de-essing last night. I had a few technical issues getting on last night, but then I was hotspotting off your Wi-Fi that you were doing the DCG broadcast on, so it caused me a few challenges. So I actually didn't drop in till late, but the team did an absolutely cracking job. It really hard course last night. Oh my goodness. Really much a sprint fest, but a sprint fest with an 11% climb on the course. 7k laps.
And where did the team
5
come?
laps. The Aeonian Chicas that Joe was part of
That you were DSing.
won their race.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah,
There you go.
they're doing really well.
Maybe I ought to ask a little bit more often. Okay, so let's jump in with Lisa Jane Lay, a.k.a. Foxy. There we go. So, Foxy leading for the very first time. Look at this, sat on the front, just holding the pace nicely and keeping this rolling along really well. Now, just going to take a little bit of a check back. It looks like our red beacon just having dropped back. So maybe if you're watching live, now is the time. If you're feeling strong, if you're feeling like one of our stronger riders, you've got plenty of pace and speed. Now is the time to just drop slightly off the back. Just give a little bit of assistance. Looks like
I think they're
Tracy
coming in
and
really
our,
fast.
red beacon in there. And don't forget, if you're struggling with tech, if you're struggling to have dropouts or similar, make sure that what you do is you rejoin and then you join back in the bunch. It's a much easier way of doing that. It's a much quicker way of doing that, and that will get you back in once again. Emma's round, apparently, seems how you won. That's how it works. Right, okay. Now, let's have a look who else we've got in here. We've got Holly in here. Now, Holly's new rider to me, I think, here for the coalition team.
Yep, so Holly, I think it is Holly's first ride, actually. Holly got in touch last
Welcome,
week.
Holly.
Yeah, she got in touch the other week around riding the women's Donny Chaingang. I pointed her in the direction of the YouTube channel, and I think she watched one of the Women's Wednesday races that obviously stay on the Downing Cycling channel or the Full Speed Events channel on YouTube. And it's a really good way to get to know whether you feel that it's something for you. So it's lovely to see Holly with us.
And, of course, anybody who's watching, if they haven't ridden the Chaingang, it follows the standard Donny Chaingang format, doesn't it? So basically, they all follow the same format, whether it is the open Donny Chaingang on a Tuesday or a Thursday, or the women's only Wednesdays, the WOW DCG. And that is, we start off nice and steady. We don't need to do a warm-up before you come on. It will pick up the pace, and the rider and the pace controller is one thing. It's not us. We don't control it as in the commentary, as organisers. It's totally down to the yellow beacon to control that pace and to provide that ramped workout.
It is indeed, and the yellow beacon will call on the screen as they wish to ramp the pace up slightly. And as they do that, before they utter the three immortal words that will open up the pace to whatever the riders like. And you're quite right, Matt, we don't. It is very much down to the yellow beacon. And as we know, some beacons like to go short. Sammy Stewart the other week, when we were in Paris, took it to a really short one lap, which in Paris is sort of around 8k. So it was a really fast last lap that Sammy led. Others like to go quite long. I know Russ, not very long ago, 1 week, put about a 27-kilometre
He went at half distance.
effort in for the riders, which I think caught so many people out because Russ is normally quite predictable, actually. I always think as Yellow Beacon, you always think, we're going to get to about 15 to 17k to go and Russ is going to let it go. And that's normally what he does, but boy did he go for a long call the other week. Really caught riders napping.
He did indeed. Now, a shout out here to Anita. Anita on her first DCG ride. I think it's her first as a WIF rider as well. Great to see Anita on here. Anita Mana in here. So let's have a little look. Anita just tucked nicely in that bunch, riding really strongly here, actually, and tucked in well. Now, there is a trigger point. It's 3 times the same word. The word has 2 letters. The first letter is G. The second letter is O. And that is then said 3 times, usually capital G, then an O, then capital G, then an O, then capital G, and an O. We're not going to say it because people would suddenly just display boom. But at that point, any ramped workout goes out the window. And what is going to happen is it is basically who can get to the finish first. Or as fast as possible. Or whatever you fancy. If you want to stop and have tea and cakes, knock yourself out. That's not a problem. But the aim of most riders is to try and stay with that leading group as long as possible.
Yeah, and the red beacon, of course, which Jo is very kindly tonight sporting that red beacon over her head, will tend to ride around 2.5 watts per kilo all ride, because some riders, as we've been talking about earlier, raced last night on ZRL. Some people may find they have much more tired legs than they thought when they got on the bike tonight, and actually they just want a nice steady ride, and the red beacon is there for that, so that there is something for everybody on this ride. So you can come in and you can have a lot of chit chat and a lot of social banter. We are very often caught out talking about cakes and gin.
Cakes, gin? I thought that was Miss Cookie.
Well, there's quite a lot of us who talk about cakes and gin, and we've had the occasional yellow beacon. I think Izzy's story, or it was Becky's story, wasn't
Becky's
it?
Story, not Izzy's
who
story.
then, as soon as she got off the bike, gathered a large slice of cake and stood in front of the gin shelf and took a photograph of herself.
Yes, that is a legendary picture from Becky's Story.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing to see.
But that banter at the back and the social camaraderie is really, really part of this, as well as the ability to give yourself a really good ramped workout and a very fast 20-odd minutes at the end if you like.
And that's one of the things, isn't it, about the Chaingang? The aim is there's something for everybody. We're really inclusive. We don't want to make life hard for everybody. The aim is to get everybody on board. And good to see we've got Ashton on here. Time to, if you give it a little bit of a kick, Joe's going to probably drop back a little bit, I suspect, to be able to give you a little bit of a tow. 6 metres is the critical distance. And on this course, if you're doing 1.9 solo, you would be doing about 1.5 in the bunch. So it's key is to make sure that you've got a rider to give you a little bit of a hand and a little bit of assistance. So just keeping an eye. And I think Joe Jarvis, look, here we go. Brakes going on. She's going to be hunting for Ashton. So this is absolutely key. Don't forget, of course, we've got Joe Jarvis as our key rider. And she is the rider who's going to be watching out for those riders coming up behind. So 2 riders off the back, and I think the beacon is going to be heading back now. Joe Blackburn, I think, had a little bit of a drop
I think she's
bottle.
had a technical issue.
Yeah, she's coming back at 5.9 watts per kilo. Look at her go past, absolutely flying. Claire Jessup did indeed do the DCG last night. Claire, come on, jump in with the gang, jump in with the red beacon. Go give Jo some company, because she was racing last night as well. So let's have a little look. Jo just really easing off the pressure, going to try and get the gang back together. I think the group at the front, and it may well be we're going to have a stop here, so Jo may want to keep on, but we're going to have a little look. So looks like one rider just continued. Now pushing onwards here at 2 watts per kilo here. So Joe's going to have to do a little bit of communicating, I think, on the old messenger here and try and get some a request in from the riders. If you're not going to complete distance, let the guys in red know if you don't want them to come back for you. Okay, it looks like Joanne just getting a shout there, so let's see. Jules Brunn is in. Let's take a little bit of a look in with the gang. Here, let's get rid of... we've got multiple windows running on one machine at the moment, which is, seems to be handling it okay. So it looks like Jarvis just going to be working there to bring our solo rider back in to the fold. Let's see if we've got anybody else coming back. Looks like Tracy Seeley going back, the Terminator herself. T2.0. T1.0 was sending some stuff off, actually. The Maddie Smith, the former national mountain bike and cyclocross champ, just seeing, I think... Alison Kinlock going back just to give a hand as well. I think there's going to be a few people. So Alison Kinlock's going to go in the middle to help pull back on again. So it looks like there's going to be a string. This is what we like. Breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs are good. More bodies further back. Hansel and Gretel time.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, Jo Jarvis is absolutely spot on in terms of being able to tow riders back in and being able to judge the pace, as long with the other riders as well. So that real ability to know that if you are second wheel, third wheel, fourth wheel or fifth wheel, that the person on the front, you don't have to be doing the same watts per kilo as the person on the front. You know, you can take a rest and that the draft will actually pull you through. So if Joe sat doing 2 or 2.5, the rider behind could quite so if Joe's at 2.5, the rider behind could be quite comfortably sat at 2 or even 1.9, and actually be taking that tow rather than be overlapping the wheels. But it's a real technique to learn on Zwift and on this platform, because actually you think you've got to be doing the same, and actually you don't. So the learning to draft is a really, really key technique on Zwift.
It is, and that is key, isn't it? Because if, for example, John Ashton can do, let's say, 2 watts per kilo, Joe Jarvis can do 2.3, 2.4 to help push on. Getting that modulation is absolutely key. So looks like it's about 33 seconds, the gap at the moment. It is doable if they can maintain over 2 watts per kilo. If the front need to ease, this is about the time. It's up to our yellow beacon, really. That's going to be their call, I think, at the moment. We're just taking a little bit of a look. So just taking a little bit of a check here on our screens. So it looks like Joe Jarvis is going to push on to try and get back in again. So Jarvis sort of winding it up. Here we go. Joe on a workout. Now, here's a little fact for you. Neil from Gritty did a little check. When he was Red Beacon, Neil was good. Really good as Red Beacon, but he wasn't necessarily our most dynamic Red Beacon. He wasn't by any stretch of the imagination the most static either, not by a long, long way. But he wasn't. So there are people who do more effort basically than Neil, and there are people who do less effort than Neil. So he's a really nice marker of what a Red Beacon is. Neil's TSS score, and Emma can tell you what the TSS is. Do you know what it stands for, Emma?
Not right this very second.
Okay, there's your homework, kids. Find out what TSS stands for. So the TSS score is basically it's how hard the workout is. I have a very unbroadcastable way of putting it. Emma, what does it actually stand for?
It's a training stress score.
Basically, yes. Mine is far less broadcastable than that. Basically, his TSS score for being Red Beacon was almost identical to his TSS score to stay in the top 15 by the finish of the Open DCG.
I'm not surprised, because one of the roles of the Red Beacon is to tow riders back on and into the group, and if someone has a technical, the red beacon will drop back and will tow the rider back on. And quite often you can do that 3, 4, 5 times in a Donny Chaingang, and actually you're doing, you know, what is a 5 or 6 watts per kilo sometime effort to pull those riders back in. And to come back onto the group, like Joe's doing now. Joe's dropped back. She's now got a tail group coming out and pulling her back in. And if you do 3, 4, 5 of those efforts during the Donny Chaingang before the red bus forms and before you start to ride, then actually that's what's going to happen.
Well, I love the comment. This is going to be a Joe Jarvis flyby coming from Tracy Seeley. Seeley went up to 8 watts per kilo there. Just trying to make sure she didn't get dropped by Joe all the way through. Getting this timing right is key. And what I'm absolutely loving, look at this. They have got the timing right. Nobody's got dropped off the back of this group. They've all got themselves together. I think Tracy Fletcher there from Max Speed at the back of the group. Tiff is leading the quartet through. Tracy Seeley in there. And they're coming back. Look at this. What a group.
Absolutely textbook how to bring a rider back into the group.
And, interestingly, not so textbook, Alison, did you fall asleep, young lady? I don't know. It's like not quite getting the kick right there.
No.
And that is key, isn't it? Because when a rider's coming, the best key to use is number 6. So use your cameras. Number 6 gets the view behind you.
Though Alison tends to only ride Zwift for the Donny Chaingang.
I know, and that is impressive in itself, because I always think you've got to modulate the pressure. Alison was putting the fan on, that's why. I love it. Absolutely love it. You wouldn't need that here. It's blinking freezing, I tell you. Yeah, tell you that. And what do you know what I need? I need a gritty thermal, and maybe a gritty neck warmer, and maybe some zip-on
Well, you
legs
know
as
the
well.
website. You know,
Yeah,
you
it's
can just log on.
www.gritty.co.uk, and if you remember the DCG gang, you get 20% discount off as well on everything except for clearance items. There you go.
Yeah, though, what a fantastic teamwork to actually bring that back together and close that 32-second gap.
Indeed. Now, just seeing, I think this is going to be John Lee. John, another of our regulars, loving the fact, gone for the full-on deep disc there. Let's see if we can do it on sneaky little move. Can't normally do this with the camera, but there you go. We can actually put the camera into the floor. So you can just see John Lee motoring away back in through the bunch. If only we could have a camera like this in the real peloton. It would make my life a lot easier, commentating. And yours. Okay, let's take a little bit of a roll back down. So Tracy Seeley at the moment, the Terminator herself, on the back. Also got, do you know what? It shows you how much time she spends on. So she's got the full DT DI cut disc and deep wheel from DT Swiss there. And that is only
That would be my choice of setup.
Yeah, and mine too, I must admit, because you can see actually it's really popular. There's a lot of riders actually on that setup. I'm just going to try and take a look because I'm sure. So Joe Jarvis, interestingly, hasn't got that setup, but that is probably to do with levels more than anything else. I'm loving the fact Joe Jarvis is saying thank you very much for coming back and giving me a hand there on the way back. So looks like Maz in here from the team. Let's have a little look. Maz on a probably the second most popular bike choice, which is a
Tron.
Swift Concept 1 Tron bike.
And I'm loving the shade of pink to match the kit.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. There you go. Got to find the right camera angle to get it all lined up and not have riders actually overlapping like that. It's like me trying to ride my bike in a bunch. Bouncing off everybody. No tourist to that. Chloe in here. So this is going to be Chloe from the Aeonian squad. Is this Chloe Gagan by any chance? I suspect it is. I don't know how many Chloes you've got in your squad.
Yeah, it is.
Good to see Chloe Gagan. I don't think we've seen Chloe on here for a while. We've seen Cindy Gagan on here.
We've seen
Chloe
Cindy
Gagan,
for a while.
which is probably why C. Gagan is now Chloe instead.
I was about to say the same thing because previously I have raced with both Cindy and Chloe on the same team as myself, and both of them have been in the box as C.
Yeah.
So they used to wear different coloured hats, that type of thing, so you'd actually be able to know who was who. But actually, Chloe versus Cindy is actually much easier.
It is, yeah, definitely. And whether you're a commentator or similar. Now, looks like everybody's all together again. Let's have a little look. Now, Julie Bratton can't see anybody. Now, if you can only see yourself on the screen, let's do a little bit of tech talk. Matt's tech talk on the Donny Chaingang. That means Emma's going to go off make coffee or stroke catch up with the beacons. So, on tech talk. So, key things. Zwift has a little protection mode on it. It's a bit like limp home mode on your car. If it is not able to communicate with Zwift servers from your machine and you have low speed coming backwards and forwards on your data, the thing it does, it puts itself in limp mode and it will shut down everybody else first. And you can see yourself only and you're on your pace. So basically, you'll stop watching everybody else. You can see your beacons, and then the beacons will go. Then you'll be riding solo, but it will retain your ride. The last thing it does is shut down everything, but you can pick it back up again. Now, if that happens, that is usually to do with your internet speed and the bandwidth that you've got. So if you've got all the kids at home, on there. So if Tim's at home watching Danny McCaskill's latest trials video, if Freya's at home at our house and she is busy FaceTiming 16 friends simultaneously while supposedly doing her homework, and at the same time Emma were to be on Zwift and I was to be on Zwift, or maybe watching a how to build another studio.com, there is such a thing. In fact, there's actually a Sound Geek. Then what you will find is that you will struggle if you're on a domestic line. You may find that you need to get rid of those extra people on there. The other thing to do is it also will start to shut down if what you've got is not in a good enough connection between your computer and your turbo trainer, but normally that is when you get a dropout rather than not seeing everybody. So really key is to try and make sure you've got enough speed on your internet. Now you can actually do it by hotspotting your phone on Zwift to give you an indication that we are actually, if you've got a good enough internet signal on 4G, you will be able to run Zwift comfortably with that if you plug your phone into your computer and use it by cable rather than Wi-Fi from your phone as a hotspot that way. So if you can do a hotspot from your phone into your computer, you can actually get often better internet signal and speed coming through. It's slightly slower. The response time in milliseconds is slower, but the actual speed of the gameplay is better, and you're less likely to get dropouts. So Alison Kinlock's just made it to level 15. Alison, it shows that Alison just rise on here. So Tech Talk over. Any tech questions? If you are struggling, I know we had Harriet had dropout issues last night on there. Don't be afraid to get in touch on Facebook, on social media. Send us a message. There's loads of assistance from the gang on the Donny Chaingang Facebook page. Is really, really key. And if in doubt, just get in touch with us direct. DM me. That is Matt Fixer Paint on Facebook. And we will get in touch and I will try and sort it out. We have literally sat down and taken people's kit apart and put it back together again.
Yeah, and Julie Bratton, who's been having problems there, has actually just put in some big efforts there to bring herself back on, and she's doing that really nicely. So Joe's just dropped back slightly to give her a little bit of a hand, and I think they're going to close that gap and actually bring themselves back onto that group. And the group are moving really nicely together, you know, nice comfortable speed at the moment, nice comfortable pace. We're coming up to around...
Yeah, don't believe the screen.
I was going to say, you're
15K.
coming up to 15k. I was looking at that thinking, someone's dropped in and used late join there. So we're coming up to 15k. We're coming up to just under half an hour. And that's nice to see everyone now back on the group.
Okay, so red beacon, yellow beacon, and the whole group all back together again. Tiff just patrolling the back there with Tracy Fletcher. Good to see that we've got Emma Gilbert back in here as well. Emma is a regular on the gang, and now wearing the blue and green kit. She's changed kit recently, and Emma, nice on that Tron bike. Usually holds a good pace, a good heart rate, and improving ride on ride.
Oh, yeah,
one of those riders who at first, I hope Emma doesn't mind me saying this, fought to stay with the group. Now, Emma's in at the kill, and that is some progression.
Oh, she's getting stronger and stronger. And, you know, actually, I think it's really... The Women's Donny Chaingang or the Tuesday and Thursday Chaingangs are really good measurements, actually, and really good tools to use to measure yourself getting fitter, because we all know how long we can hang in for and what happens after the specific words have taken place. And it's really good to see with different courses and different rides and actually your progression over time. And I think Emma is just getting stronger and stronger, and I think that's really showing.
It is, and I think it's a classic casebook of the Chaingang going, and a rider who we know really does jump in and help out as well, which is fantastic to see. Now, let's take a little bit of a hunt through some more of our riders. One rider who's been impressing me week on week, whilst we're on riders, here we go, Sandra McKay. Sandra, again, has been... riding very, very strongly. Now, Lisa Jane Lake just saying, got legs warmed up, let's lift the pace there. So that's going to be interesting to see how everyone goes with that. Let's see how the pace picks up. Sandra has been improving week on week and been digging really, really deep. We've seen her go off the bat, and do you know what? She's not giving up, which is what we want. And that red beacons, of course, have been there and supporting as well on the way through. But Sandra really, really quick as well. When the traditional red and black, and I absolutely love the skull with the casquette on top as well.
Yeah, and we talked earlier on about this was going to be a really quick ride because this particular course, even if you're not doing a high watts per kilo, if you are in a large bunch, that draft algorithm really works in your favour and you tick the kilometres off really, really quickly. Take a look at that. We're at 29 minutes and we've already covered 16.7 kilometres.
Yeah, we are absolutely flying at the moment. Now, I'm just going to have a little jump from Joe. Looks like Anita riding strongly here. So Anita's first ride. And just on the outside of the bunch here, so we get a better look at Anita at the moment. 140 beats per minute. Nice pedal cadence there. 92 revs per minute. Super smooth. That is really good.
Yeah, it is indeed. And you see that good RPM. Quite a low heart rate still at the moment. So expecting quite a bit from Anita later.
Well, you know, when that trigger gets pulled, when the plunger gets pushed, when the pin gets ejected, we will see when that happens. And of course, that's all in the hands of our wonderful yellow and red beacons. We've got to say a massive thank you to our beacons who jump in and take control. And I have to say, I've done the yellow beacon roll. And I have been the red beacon on other groups and ridden a lot, far too much on Zwift really. And I've got to say, the most rewarding, I think, is red, swiftly followed by yellow, just depending, they're slightly different roles. Red is really helping out everybody. Yellow is getting it right and trying to make sure you get that ramp just right and watching all the group. They are really, really fun. Now, the way we've just come in through, Emma, this is not the way through the finish, is it?
It isn't. So when you come round the next lap, you will come under that arch and you will continue to ride as this group is at the moment. You will then go round the turning circle and you will come back in. You can see it really clearly on the map on the top right hand side of the screen. You'll go round the turning circle and you'll come back in on the opposite side of the road that the group are in, and the finish is the rock arch, but it's in the other direction. So that's the thing we need to be really, really careful of here, because that has caught one or two riders out before on the Donny Chaingang.
And if you are in the pain zone and you're seeing red mist, the way I always remember it, because you can't always sort of see straight, is it's high on the left and it's low on the right. And that is when you're going in the right direction. I do, honestly. It's high left, low right.
How you remember things baffles me.
There you go. Brain has to work occasionally, every now and then. So just taking a look at Emma at the moment, which is unusual to see that we've just got Emma on our screens. Just going to take a little bit of a check back across. So whilst we just take a little bit of a check on our rider at the moment, looking like stuck solo out in the middle of nowhere. We are just going to try and get ourselves back in with the group here. I'm going to use a little sneaky trick that we developed sometime earlier. Basically, you go jump into the conversation and jump back across. At the moment, we are seeing... So Emma Gilbert can see everyone on her screen. There's 2% around here somewhere. So the bunch definitely having interesting moments for us here in the studio. We're going to stay in with Becky Porter-James at the moment. We're going to work our way. I'm going to try and jump in with our yellow beacon because our yellow beacon is going to be key here today. So let's see if we can jump in with the beacon. There we go.
Look at that.
As if by magic, and don't ask me what I did because I haven't got a Scooby-Doo. Well, I have actually, but that would be telling.
See, just proving that it's not just our riders having technical issues tonight. There are little gremlins in Zwift, and it moves you around a little bit.
Do you know what? I very rarely say it's Zwift, but this may well be because we know that we've got super duper speed at the moment, and it's dropping us back in and out of this group like there is no tomorrow. Interesting to see that there's an anvil being binned by one of our riders. So back in with Lisa, now in with Emma. And as you can see, it's just taking riders out around the outside. That is likely to be due to the bandwidth that we have here at the moment. So we're going to jump in. Let's see how our riders are doing. Looking pretty good at the moment.
They are indeed. This group is still all working really well together.
They were.
And she's just called it. The go, go, go hit the red. Something is gone, and it's looked like the yellow beacon has called it early, Matt.
It does indeed. Let's see if we can drop back in with our riders here at the moment. And we are going to keep a little bit of a check here and see how they are doing. We are going to have a little bit of a run through. Let's see if we can keep ourselves in. Then we're going to up our internet. So we just doubled the speed with which everything is coming in. So hopefully we're not going to get any dropouts. And the go, go, go has indeed gone. So this is a time to see who has got the pace and the power. Holly from Coalition right up. Oh, look who's on the front. It's the one and only Tiff Fletcher. Look at this. So Fletcher, then Holly, then it's going to be Blackburn. McKay, it's looks like Anita Mana right in the mix here as well. The Red Beacon now starting to form a bus at the back.
Yeah, and it's stretched the group, Matt. That initial kick after the go, go, go has stretched the group. But a large number of those riders who are on that tail are being able to make it back into that group now that the pace has dropped on the very front. And you can see those riders concertinaing back into the group. So whilst we've now got a red bus formed with 2 or 3 riders at the back, actually, do you know what? That's one big group at the moment.
It is indeed. Let's jump in with our Red Beacon. And this is going to be the Red Beacon is coming. Texting Sarah Jane Hawkins. Oh, my goodness. Not paying attention. Love that call from Foxy there. Calling it on the way through as we come through. So as the bell rings, it's not the bell for the train. It's the bell for the red bus. Time to jump on board. So Jojo Avis getting that group working together. And do you know what? I think that they have a good chance of coming in really close to the Yellow Beacon group, because they're going to work at a nice, constant, steady pace. Whereas the yellow group, of course, is jumpy and attacky.
Yeah, they will be.
New word.
They will indeed
attacky.
be jumpy and attacky. And it will be yo-yoing. We saw the group stretch. We saw it come back together again. And that will keep happening. And they will look at each other. This, you know, you make the assumption that because this is a flat course, it's an easy course. Actually, it's completely the opposite. Because the tendency here is to sit in the group and sit in the group for as long as possible. But then you take 25 riders into a sprint.
Yep.
And then it's anybody's. And here it really is. It's really interesting to see who is brave, who is a brave rider, who can actually try and make the race, try and make the game, and break up the standard expectation that people have for this course.
Yep, I have to admit, I work on this one. My general option is to go about 5 metres off the back of the group. So I'd be aiming to go off the back, just off the back there, about 5 metres, which is about the equivalent of where the E is at the moment on your screen for Emma Gilbert. And then rocket my way into the bunch and then go out the front.
Using the momentum that you gain through the draft in the pack.
Exactly. Because by drafting through the big pack of riders, that gives you a catapult effect. Basically slingshot. So imagine when the moon, when they go off to the moon and you're on Apollo 13 and it's all gone absolutely Pete Tong. You've had a massive blowout of one of the technical parts. Basically, slingshotting back was the only way they could get back. They couldn't just turn around and go back home. They used the gravitational force of the moon to slingshot them around and get back to Earth. Well, you use the same thing. Using the draft is using an exterior force to bring you through at speed and to accelerate you off generally, hopefully, in my direction towards winning.
Yeah.
Doesn't often happen. In
Yeah.
fact, it very rarely happens, to be
Well,
honest.
it's interesting, isn't it? Because you don't have to be the fastest rider who
No.
can put out the highest watts per kilo to win a race on
What are you trying
Zwift.
to say?
Actually, you need to be really smart and you need to be technically sound. And
Yeah.
actually, that's about the technique of riding on Zwift, not the technique of riding a road race or a mountain bike race or a cyclocross race, because these are different platforms and different tactics and different techniques work. And understanding and learning the platform and understanding and learning the tactics that you can use and how momentum works is one of the biggest things to use. You know, that's
Yep.
one of the biggest things to understand. Momentum is your friend on Zwift.
It is indeed, and they are different disciplines.
Yeah, they are.
Esports is a different discipline, and in fact, different platforms within different disciplines. So, if you are riding on a French gravel race, that may be very different to a UK gravel race, or a World Championship gravel race, or an American gravel race, for all those who believe in the purity of gravel. It's such a thing, believe me. Purity of gravel. Yeah, think
So I'm loving the
evangelicals.
concept of a 21 up time trial.
A 20
It's hard enough when you
up
do a
TT.
team time trial with 6 on Zwift, let alone trying to coordinate. You need a massive DS long list for a 21 up team time trial on Zwift.
Do you know, I got some of my best results in team time trials, and I absolutely hated them because I turned myself inside out. It's probably a good job that Garmin's didn't exist in those days, because they probably didn't tell me I needed to sleep and recover for about 3 months afterwards.
Well, come on, let's be realistic. A team trial has got to be one of the hardest things you can ever do, because you don't want to let anybody else down. And talking about letting people down, that group is moving, and we've got an attack on the front. Tiff Fletcher's gone again, Alison Kinlock's gone with her, and Holly from Coalition's gone too. And you know what? They don't want to take 21 riders round this course. They want smaller groups, and they want smaller, faster groups to work together.
And look at this, Kinlock is answering as she said. She's on form. I mean, we're only, 10 days out from the World Masters. And looking at this, I think Kinlock is absolutely flying. Look at this, straight onto the wheels of Tiff Fletcher. Fletcher, no slouch whatsoever. An absolutely class rider. Really nice person as well. And a coach, of course. And being caught back there by Alison Kinlock. Holly from Coalition. Just about to make the catch. Come on, Holly, you got to keep squeezing. Get onto those wheels. No good just sitting there dangling more than 6 metres away. You're not getting any drafting effect.
Yeah, we've got Maz Hesfron, and I think that's Tracy Fletcher as well, the Mag Speed Racing rider, who are also coming onto the back of this group. So the question is now, does the group sit up or does the group continue to push? Because they've got a small gap. It's not
3
big.
seconds.
It's 3 seconds. But you know what? If this group push on and work together, the group behind won't come back to them. But I'm not sure that's going to happen.
Well, we're just seeing some bodies out of the back of the pack as well. But look at this. It's a bit like Jaws. You're going to need a bigger boat because that's coming. It's not we're going to need a bigger boat. It's you're going to need a bigger boat. There, misquote of the week. So this is the chasing group here on the way through. Just watching Tracy Fletcher. Don't expect Tiff and Tracy to work together. It doesn't work like that, families, believe me, on the Zwift. So here we go. The chasing group trying to bring them back. Still sitting at 3 seconds. Remember, we've got to go round the turn. Out on the west side of Wartopia, and then the Fuego Flats, and then go across back east, and then go around the loop, and then go back under the arch again. But I'll tell you something, I wonder whether they're just letting them burn their legs out here, because it's taken a long time to bring back the riders in front. You know, they're just sitting there. It's 5 riders in front. It's still 3 seconds. But, of course, it's 5 riders burning more energy and spending more time on the front. And if I was in that group, sitting at 3 seconds, I'd be wary of burning too much energy off here.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it, you say that, Matt? You see, I would be thinking, if I was in that group of 5, I'd be kicking again. Because that group are just expecting it to come back together again. And they're just anticipating the fact that because they're a larger group, they're going to bring it all back together again. And I think that's about what's to happen. So it's an interesting one. Here we go. We're about to see, I reckon, a catch made here. And the larger group coming together with the smaller group who went out front. And that catch, I think, is about to be made.
Yeah, you see, I'll be waiting until the catch is made and then rocket the way through everybody again and go the second that everybody's got the catch and just relaxes that classic counter attack. And speaking of classic counter-attacks, Alison Kinloch on the attack once again. Kinloch is not making life easy for these riders. Looking, I think, today for the win. Can she roll in from the WOW DCG with a win?
Well, if you're not confident, and I'm not saying this is Alison by any long shot, if you're not confident about being able to win a sprint with 21 other riders in your pack, then actually you've got to keep breaking their legs, and you've got to keep pushing on, and you've got to keep putting those attacks in and throwing your riders down the road, and actually making the pack stretch their legs and do the catch work is going to take the sting out of those sprinters' legs.
Yeah, and I would want to put a few attacks in. So even if you did bring 21 in, you've got the damage done, and ideally whittle a few riders off. Take it down to maybe 10, 15 riders. Ideally 7 or 8. That would be fantastic. But it's horses for courses. Some people want to see a big group sprint. Now, all the time that they muck about, a.k.a. just look at each other, Mavin is going to be chasing. He got McDermott for company. 45 seconds back is the Red Beacon group. And that Red Beacon group are looking good at the moment. Now, they are going to see that Yellow Beacon group come in the opposite direction very shortly indeed.
Look at that. Absolute perfection of timing by the look of that.
So here we go, going round the turn. Going to take this left-hand bend and going to line up for a game of chicken with the Yellow Beacon. Red versus yellow. Here they go, round the bend. And you can just see in the distance goes the Yellow Beacon. Through they go.
And the Yellow Beacon is waving.
Love it. It's a key on your pad. You can do it from your
I know.
from your computer. If you've got the time to do it, you're spending too much time riding with the too slow group. Remember, hard should be hard, easy should be easy, and ramps should be ramps, and that is exactly what the Donny Chaingang is. Don't forget, of course, that all of this month we are supported on the DCG Gang by Gritty. The DCG Gang is basically the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club. It is how we keep the show on the road. It's also how we make sure that Russ, the gang, Emma, myself can spend all this time putting the chain gangs on, broadcasting, organising the routes, doing all the liaison beacons, supporting people with their tech, etc, etc. Please, if you can, do donate. You can either do that on an ad hoc basis, or if you donate for a month or for the rest of the season, then we say thank you. We don't say thank you just by doing that online. What we actually do is, because we are Yorkshire folk, no, Russ and I are anyway, Emma's a southerner, said with disdain, then we say thank you by making sure, because you don't get out for now, that you get lots of discounts from people like Gritty, 20% off Gritty, 20% off Velo Skin, 10% off Halo. At the moment, we've also got, of course, massive discounts off the already discounted prices from the team at 1080. 1080 are our beacon sponsor on the way through.
And look at that. Whilst we've been chatting, Alison Kinloch has done it again. Alison has pushed on and she's now stretching this, and we've got a small group of what looks like 3 riders at the moment off the front of the pack. 4 seconds it looks like, so 4 seconds down the road.
Now look at this, Joanne Blackburn has come absolutely flying. Look at that, look at the speed.
Yeah, well, we're coming close to 30 kilometres travelled, Matt, and that finish line is going to come at 37. So, if we're going to see some action, now is a great time for Blackburn to push on here, looking to see whether Holly and Kinloch are going to go with her, because there's 2 seconds now back from Blackburn to Kinloch and to Holly. We've got 7 seconds back to the chaser group. Do you know what, Matt? This group could stay away.
This is going to be really interesting. You've got Holly Bergin. Holly is from Yorkshire. Amazing. Lives in Skipton. Amazing what you can find out during the course of a WOW DCG. Great place. Skipton commentated on the cricks there repeatedly, and of course been up there lots, not just riding, but also for the festival, Beat Herder Festival, just over the side of the hill. And I tell you, one rider who is definitely raving away forwards at pace, it is Tiff Fletcher. Tiff has decided that she's seen the express train leaving the station and doesn't want to get left on the platform, because look at this. Another big kick here by Tiff, and we're seeing the numbers in the red. That means over 8 watts per kilo.
Yeah, but I tell you who's been keeping a close eye is Joanne Blackburn, because Blackburn's seen Tiff come across and she's gone again off the front. So if Tiff wants to make the juncture back to Blackburn, she's going to have to go over the top of Kinloch and Holly and actually do the work to close the gap to Blackburn, and that's only going to benefit Holly and Kinloch. But look at those numbers coming out of Fletcher, 8.69 watts per kilo, but she's making the gap and she's definitely planning on getting there. I tell you what, I'm also looking, Matt, back at the group behind, and I think Tracy Seeley is actually going to try and do the same thing.
Well, that'd be really interesting. So what we've seen the attack. We then see a bridge to try and come across. So Blackburn in 1, Fletcher 2 seconds back, Holly, and then Kinloch. Then it's going to be Seeley on a mission to get across. 5 seconds back, you've got this bunch. But for me, the real key thing here, let's get up with the drone because we're clearly not going to be able to get across. This group is now across the road. They are not in pursuit mode because they would be in a single line. It's 7 seconds back from Tracy Seeley. The Terminator is on her way, breaking through plasterboard doors, smashing through sugar glass, smash through armour-plated glass with our Terminator. I think Seeley is on a mission at the moment to get back across. She's left that group, and as we head down in through to the jungle, through the jungle trees and into the canyon, you can see she's chasing these riders. Blackburn, though.
Yeah.
What a ride.
And I tell you what, Matt, Fletcher, Holly, so Tiff, Holly, Alison and Tracy need to get in a group of 4 and they need to work together through and off hard. That's the only way they're going to stand any chance of being Blackburn back at this moment, because 5.5 watts per kilo is an average pace she's putting out at the moment. She is time trialling her way to the finish.
Indeed, and sat really comfortably. Look at that. It's a real time trial effort. 68, 69 revs per minute. Proper time trial revs. 164 beats per minute. I'll put your money that is sitting just underneath her FTP level, her standard level that she can sit at for a good time trial effort here. And Blackburn absolutely demolishing the group now. This is going to take a real concerted effort, and as you say, it's going to need these 4 riders to work together. So the Terminator there has even got Terminator shades on, but in white, obviously, because they're Oakleys. It's a little bit of extra added cool. Holly needs to give it a push. Tracy, Tiff, and Alison, if they don't, they're going to get closed down because the group behind is now at 10 seconds on them. And closing, Blackburn is at 16 seconds. Now 17 seconds to Tracy Seeley. And at the moment, Holly, Alison and Tiff are getting a free ride on the back wheels of one or the other. But what they need to do, she's like, I love the fact that there's an anvil just being thrown down there by Tracy Seeley because it's going to have about as much use as a chocolate fireguard.
Yeah, but if that's the power-up you've been given and you're riding the flatlands, you might as well just get rid of it.
Yep, bin it off. It's not going to be much use. I mean, it is literally the only bit downhill on the course here. When we say it's flat, it's 32 metres across both laps total.
Blackburn, Matt, is just pulling it out now. She's gone up to 18 seconds now, this gap. This is a really strong effort. It's fantastic to see someone absolutely... We talked about a brave rider earlier on. This is a brave ride.
Definitely combativity award of the day would be going to Blackburn, attacking and attack again. It was going to go to Alison. Definitely not going to be the case here. You don't win anything other than our undying admiration for your attacking skills and the ability to give us something to talk about on commentary. It's not always the case on every commentary that we do. Sometimes it is sprint win after sprint win after sprint win, and other times it is absolutely action from end to end. But Joe Blackburn here looking very, very strong indeed. It'll be really interested to see if she can keep this heart rate. Interesting, it's dropped from 163 to 160.
Yeah, she's backed off the pace a little bit. She's still sitting very comfortably just around 5. Earlier on when we were talking about her heart rate, which was 165 at the time, she was sitting around 5.5, 5.4, 5.5 watts per kilo. She's just backed off the pace a bit, but why not? Because the group behind are not pushing on. You know, that group of 4 riders that we've got the camera shot on at the moment are sat around 3.5 watts per kilo, which is well below what Blackburn is doing at the moment. 23-second gap now to Blackburn, absolutely outstanding, and a 12-second gap from this group of 4 back to the chasers.
Shall I tell you what they're doing? In the words of the great Nick Craig, they're all racing for first loser. That's what they're doing at the moment, because that's what it's going to be, because Blackburn is at 26 seconds. If you're across the road, you're not taking it in concerted turns, you're not communicating, you're not looking at taking the win because you've just given up, waved the white flag and said, see you later Blackburn, you're gone. You could do this. These riders are all capable. We know Alison, Tracy, Tiff and Holly are all absolute class on wheels, but all choosing not to go for the win, but to look to take the sprint win in their group. And if that's what you want to do, then cool. You know, that's the Chaingang. You will be first loser, though. You're not going to be first winner.
I just do not like that phrase.
I know you don't like that phrase.
I don't like that phrase at all.
You don't like it when we use it for cross or anything.
My view is everybody who gets on a bike and enters a race, whether they're on the DCG, whether they're on in real life race, is a winner. They are not a loser, and actually using that terminology is so wrong.
There you go. That's the difference between you and me. I'm an opinionated, grumpy old man.
It's the difference between me and Nick Craig, isn't it?
It is.
That's why he wins everything and I just take part.
Yeah, that's probably why Nick is such an absolute legend and such a champion. And I'll tell you who else uses that phrase. Tim Goldust uses that as well.
Well, there you go.
Maybe it's something about cyclocross off-road riders
mountain
from
bike and
1980s.
cyclocross riders and me. I'm on the start line. The fact I'm on the start line, whatever start line I'm on, whether it's a Zwift ride, a Donny Chaingang, whether it's a mountain bike, cyclocross or road ride, it is a win being on the bike and out there.
Right, here we go. This is not the finishing line. This is high at the right, low on the left. It's the wrong way round. It should be the other way around. That means that we have the loop to go for Joe Blackburn. Joe, you've got the loop, and then when you come back the opposite direction, and you can see that little white line go through, that will be when you've hit the finish. New personal record for the time through Fuego Flats Reverse, a 10.01 now. This is going to be really indicative of this section. This is covering basically this section, 7.1k in reverse, and this will give you a good indication of the difference in pace here between Joe Blackburn and the group being led through by Alison Kinlock.
Yeah, and even though we're seeing confetti come through, Matt, look at that. So Blackburn put her attack in on that 7 kilometre section, and you can see 27 seconds difference, the speed from Blackburn to the chasing group behind.
So Blackburn about to go into the turn. Kinlock and co well through. The chasing pack, the Yellow Beacon group, also going underneath the archway. They will hit the finish when they come in the opposite direction. Don't forget we still have riders behind. This is our Red Beacon group. The bus has formed and looks to be motoring along. Julie Brown with those tech dropouts just a little bit further back. We are going to run our way up through the group past Joanne Lee, past Vicky Jones, running right the way up to Joe Blackburn. Blackburn deserving all of the applause she's going to get for this, because this was 1, brave, 2, great inspirational way to put in an attack, 3, an absolute impressive as anything performance. What a ride.
Absolutely brilliant. And let's not forget, once she turns around and goes through that arch and crosses that line for the finish, we have a warm down on this event as well to the blue banner. So white line is the finish, and then there's a 2 kilometre warm down to the blue event banner.
So Joe Blackburn at the moment leading from Alison Kinlock, from Tracy Seeley, from Holly Bergen and from Tiff Fletcher. They are our 5 riders who are in the top 5 with 1 rider clear. That is Blackburn, who has 45, I'll repeat that, 45 seconds lead clear. Now, this will be a really interesting sprint here. We know that Tiff has a phenomenal sprint on her. Alison Kinlock, maybe less so, not known for her sprinting, but for sheer pure power. And then you've got the Terminator in there, and we've got the unknown package that is Holly in there. I'm not sure who I want to put my money on at the moment, but here we go, Emma. Bring her home. This is going to be your Wow DCG winner tonight.
It is indeed. So we are in with Joe Blackburn, and boy has this been a fantastic ride as she turns and she comes and she sees that finish line. There it is. She has time trialled her way to perfection, and she crosses that line and takes the win tonight on the wheel DCG.
Well done to Joe Blackburn taking that out in style. Now the sprint has begun, and it is going to be the Terminator herself who is going to lead this out. But look
Fletcher
at Fletcher.
is coming. Look at that. And boy, I saw 14 watts per kilo go from Fletcher when she put that initial kick in. But has anybody in the group behind got the challenge to go? I don't think so. So Tiff comes over the line in 2.
Then it's going to be Tracy Seeley in 3. It's going to be Holly in 4. It's going to be Alison in 5. Behind, it's going to be Emma Gilbert in 6, Jolie in 7, and then all the rest of this bunch coming chasing in and through. Fantastic ride by that chase group on the way through, absolutely rocketing through. And if you look at the times here, it is a 37.56 second 500 metres. That is a phenomenal kick on the way through. Got to say a massive thank you to Lisa Jane Lake, the one and only Foxy. Amazing stuff once again.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant yellow beacon. And wow, she called it long, and it was great.
It was a great ride there. Now, we are just going to take a little bit of a check up the road here. And the reason for that is I think that we have people between here and the finishing line. We're going to have a double check here, but I think that it is going to be Marin from McDermott at the moment. In fact, there you go. McDermott is just behind. A massive, massive thank you to our beacons tonight. Don't forget, please, make sure you support the people who support the Chaingang. That is either by becoming a member of the DCG gang, but absolutely fantastic stuff to have our riders on here. Don't forget, we've got a massive gritty giveaway. There's going to be £150 to spend at www.gritty.co.uk going out to members of the DCG gang tomorrow. That'll be live on air, and we will be giving away a £50 credit and then a £100 credit, and the odds are actually 1 in 59 for the £50 credit and 1 in 58 for the 100, and that is quite simple. Really, really easy. That is because
you can only win once.
It is one rider, one prize. Old school rules apply. Come on, it's on the Chaingang.
Yeah, so we're just watching Mavin here as actually she's out the saddle and she's putting in a kick there. And she can see that finish line in front of her, and she really wants to push and put the effort in.
Here we go. Come on, this is the last big kick here. That's Rock Arch. Great revs. 103, 104 revs per minute. Cadence that Emma can only dream of.
Oh, that was harsh. I've had 124, I think, out once.
It's a good job there's no camera rolling on my face at this moment in time. I tell you.
It's a rare feat for me to go over 100 or 105.
Rare? Rare? Rare?
We just have different riding styles.
So Bethany McDermott goes in over the line. Great ride there by Beth coming in through. So Bethany goes through. It's going to be in ahead of our beacon group.
And
here
look,
they come.
There they go. They're coming into that rock arch themselves. So we've got a group here with the red beacon.
So it is going to be Claire Jessup who's going to lead them through, and underneath over the line they go. Fantastic stuff. So it's Claire Jessup, Sarah Lewis Hawkins. Good to see Sarah on here. I haven't featured Sarah today. Another rider. Speaking of riders who've really been improving, fantastic stuff. And Sarah, again, every time getting better and better and better on the Chaingang, improving performance. Don't forget, of course, we've also got in here, it is Becky Porter-James. Becky in with us, jumping in late. Another great ride by Becky. And again, another rider who's improving week on week. Great to see Becky in with us. But we've got to say a massive thank you to Joe Jarvis. Joe, an absolute workhorse tonight. And yet again, doing an amazing job as our Red Beacon. So big thank you, Joe, particularly after racing and being scored and bossed about by Emma in the DS.
Yeah, she's had me in her ears for 2 nights running now. Poor Joe.
Get an idea what it feels like being me. Right, so fantastic stuff for Joe. We are going to follow Joe a little bit longer. But let's jump back as she makes her way in towards the beacon. So Thank you very much for watching. Thank you, Emma, for joining me in the world's smallest outside broadcast van ever.com. It's not quite true. Apparently, somebody once broadcast a live show in a Mini. Apologies for the camera being out of focus. It's because it's pitch black in here, and to be honest, can't be bothered putting any lights on.
No, I did offer to bring some candles down, but you didn't want that mode.
No, definitely not. It would have been very, very weird indeed. So, from Emma and myself, a big thank you to our because another great WoW DCG. We're going to leave Joe to roll her way into that finishing line. Before we go, I want to say a massive thank you to the supporters of the DCG gang and everybody who donates to the Donny Chaingang. Without it, Emma, Russ, myself, all our bigs, it just wouldn't happen. Gail, Mark Chamberlain, all of the guys on there just can't make it happen. Got to put a quick addition on. Just latest news, just literally just coming in. Tomorrow it's going to be the Wolfpack, not the Bear. It's going to be Jimmy Allen leading out the Donny Chaingang. That is going to be tomorrow on the Donny Chaingang, the Open Donny Chaingang. We'll be back next week with the WoW DCG. That is going to be our last show. We're going to have 2 shows. It's quite a scary thought. Just 2 shows in the standard full speed events of Beer Cellar Studios. And then we're going to be heading down to the World's Masters. Do catch up with us then. Where can we catch up with you on social media?
Oh, if you want to find me, you can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram or Twitter, and Emma Martin on Facebook.
Indeed. And, of course, don't forget that you can also catch up with us on all of Strava, etc. You can catch up with me. That is at Matt Fix the Paint. And, of course, don't forget, we will be streaming lots of other bits and pieces coming out your way. But you do need to follow our social media. We don't plug everything here on this one. Make sure you jump on to Gritty's site. That's www.gritty.co.uk, and make sure you're watching tomorrow for the last giveaway of the month. We are going to leave our super in and out of focus camera alone before it drives you absolutely insane. So from myself,
good night.
Good night. We'll see you again next time. Bye bye.